want to try to talk about something that hasn't really been labeled in this way, but I think may be important. It's really called the primal self. We each have a connection to our primal self. In a spiritual sense, it's a collective, but in the individual sense that we all seem to occupy, it's just us. The primal self has experiences. It experiences love, joy, fear, terror, confusion, hope, desire, all of that stuff. And much of our journey in life enters the world as a primal self in a state of enormous dependency. We can do nothing for our primal self, or at least that's the feeling. You're hungry, you cry. You're comforted, you whimper, you smile. You're fearful, you cry. You want something that's not there, cry. It's a very simple journey, and we're all exposed to that when we're born. And we are relatively helpless. I think I talked about this a little last week, but there is a moment often for the primal self when it realizes it's not being cared for. It's not being addressed. The urge for milk, the urge for food, the urge for comfort, the urge for warmth or cold or whatever it is not being given. And when that happens, and the crying is at the end of its rope and you can't cry anymore, and you don't know what to do anymore, there's a kind of settling in to a kind of unhappy acceptance, not satisfied, but there's nothing else you can do. So you go and you just lie there, usually in your crib. And when somebody comes and picks you up, there's gratitude, there's joy, but there's also some resentment. Why now? Why not before? This complexity of the primal self begins to fill your idea of who you are. And it only gets more complex. And mostly what you want in a primal self is to get away from dependency on others because they are unreliable. They don't always bring you what you want, when you want it, the way you want it. Often they do the opposite. They are harmful, difficult, complicated, demanding. And all you can feel inside is a desire to be independent of the need for all of that. And you will spend your entire middle life developing this independence, which stays pretty much that way until you can say friendships form and there becomes a bit of a dependence on friendships. When you discover someone you love and you just find that you really are no longer independent. In a way, you are connected to them, and you find this urge to independence and dependence kind of in conflict. And then the journey continues, for better, for worse. And then you come to a point, of course, that I am entering, and some of you will soon enter, called old age, where your independent self, even your dependent self on others, becomes more dependent. You start to feel that you're going to need more people to help you get through this. And what happens as you get old is the universe takes those people away. So when you cry out like a little baby for help and nourishment, fewer people show up. The ones you relied on in the past, maybe there, maybe not there, but the world becomes less attentive, and you start to go on this extraordinary journey back into dependency, where others or an other may be there to help you, and then ultimately, nobody. And it's like being in the crib again. There you are, crying out. They can't hear you. They don't know to come. They're serving 12 other people down the hallway. You are completely locked in to dependency. And at that point, there's a major lesson to be learned. And this is a lesson that I suppose is there the whole time, and none of us want it, really. But it's called, you're on your own. Horrible lesson. You're on your own. And the truth is, we are all on our own. We have always been on our own. We have always been on this journey of moving through life, which is a massive confusion that makes very little sense, except for the fact that we start to look for sense in it. Some find it in religious practice, religious belief, spiritual belief. You think of yourself as, aha, this is what it is. This is karmic. This is astrological. Whatever it is that gives your mind some security that you are in a place that you can understand and grasp and make sense on some level. And I know, having been on the spiritual journey for 50 plus years, that or more, that the idea of the spiritual explanation for things is very powerful. And it really becomes like an addictive thing, because it explains how you can find release from your primal nature, how you can find some inner permanence of comfort and simplicity and clarity. And it's the most wonderful thing while it lasts. And then the deeper version of our journey is it does not last. And the person who was the beneficiary of this spiritual understanding and clarity, oh, I'm now enlightened, oh, I'm awakened, oh, I'm just a witness to the universe. There is no real Bruce, in my case, I went through all of that. And I will tell you, there are moments of absolute truth in that. And then every bit of understanding, spiritual, emotional, biological understanding starts to fall away. And you are left on your own, again, where you've always been. It is shocking when the true underpinnings of your life, the spiritual underpinning, the meditative underpinning, no longer gives you the security that you hunger for in life. It doesn't pick you up and hold you to its breast and give you milk and nourishment. It just kind of whispers, you're on your own. And that is, on some level, terrifying. On another level, let me explain that the real problem and the real confusion in this is there's a you that wants it to take care of you, to be your guide, to be your source of uplift. And it is all of those things in a way, until you realize that there is no you to be uplifted. There is no you to be nourished. There is no you to be taken care of. Certainly, there is no you separate from this primal self. The idea that you are separate from it and in need of care takes you right back to your birth moment. And you are born into duality. You are born into me and all the rest. And you fight for this independence. And then you find out that you're not good at it, really. You can't sustain it. You still need others all the time. And then the others start to fall away, and you get old and your body starts to fall away. And all the things that made sense to you, interestingly, fall away, including the core of your spiritual practice. Forgive me if you're not there yet. And if you don't, and you can hang up on me at any time if this is information you don't want to hear. But I will tell you, at some point, everything that gives you clarity and meaning and focus is all apparent, because the truth is there is no you to have that. There is no you and it. There is only you, and you are on your own. You are also part of a collective self. So when you say you are on your own, really, it's a we. We are on our own. And we collectively can interact or not, have support for one another or not. But the primary directive, when you start to understand how singular we are, is the things that I've been talking about in Buddha and Christ and everybody else for centuries. What do you do with that singular nature? What do you do with that you're on your own nature? Well, you can give yourself lots of understanding and a lot of spiritual guidance, and you can try to do all that stuff, but you will always be in the dualistic state. Then there arises this simplistic teaching: be nice, be a good person, be a loving person, be kind, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which is now becoming my mantra, of course. And the reason for that is that the other, the kindness, the gentility, the niceness that you can offer is, in fact, being nice to yourself, being kind to yourself, because everything around you is yourself. Everything that manifests, for better or for worse, is yourself. And a lot of us want to differentiate ourselves from the stuff we don't like. I'll accept the people I love. I'll accept the good moments that come in. I'll accept the sweetness and the happiness of life, but I'm not going to accept the darkness, the evil, the undoing of so much of what I consider to be important. And yet, all of that, totality, everything that is, so darkness and light, good and evil, happy, sad, etc., is all the definition of the primal self. And it's not there to aid or harm you, because the you is the totality. And if you're taking it as a separate self and you're thinking things are coming at you, you are part of a delusion that fills the human race and causes a lot of disturbance and a lot of suffering. Interestingly, as you get older, at the end of your life, a lot of things start to come into play. But the key thing that comes into play is very similar as like the reverse of being born, is everything is not, instead of being added onto you and you taking control and feeling that you're now independent and in charge, all of that gets taken away. You start to go through this experience of phenomenal loss. And what responds to that loss can seem like it's personal, can have your name on it. It can also be foundational or primal. In other words, just like when you were born, before you had a name, before you had a goal of becoming this or that in life, or others who were important to you other than perhaps mother's milk, before all that, you were this being that felt happy, sad, hungry, needful, all of the things that happened. That's what you go back to. We all, every one of us, is heading there. I am a few steps ahead of some of you. Some of you are a little bit ahead of me, but it's really interesting. We are on the journey of loss. We have a wonderful journey into gain into possession, having, fullness, all of that, but it does not end that way. It ends with letting go, letting go, letting go. One of the key elements of a spiritual life is learn how to do that while you're still in the body. Learn how to let go, detach, surrender, witness. Those are really key muscular skills that prepare you for the inevitability and the absolute inevitability of everything going away, including everything you understand, everything you know, and ultimately most of the people you know. You end up on your own. And you have to figure out, how do I navigate those waters? And there is a kind of instinctual thing that will begin to move you in that direction. And I've discovered that this idea of being kind and being good and being nice and other before self is a practice until it's not. And what happens when you cross the line of it as a practice is it becomes pure action. Kindness flows through you. Goodness flows through you. Worrying and fearing and hoping for and valuing the other flows through you. And there is very little of you responding to all that. There's a you who's aware of it. And at times, when it becomes particularly primal, you will be almost like an infant. And I have discovered for myself moments of unbelievable fear, hope, worry, not liking elements of the world around me. And every time that comes up, I feel on some level like a failure, especially a spiritual teacher failure. And then I go, no, this is the journey. And when you start to let go of all of the security of your teaching, of your meditative practice, of everything, you are going to become primal again. And there's nothing exactly wrong with that because there is no one to judge it. And as that primal thing keeps happening, just like the little baby in the crib, you're not sitting there going, what is wrong with me? Why am I so worried? They're going to come. Of course they're going to come. They always come. They'll bring me milk. They'll bring me food. Nothing like that goes on in the crib. And as you get to a certain point of your spiritual life, you realize they're not coming. It's not going to happen on your terms. It's only going to happen. And all you can do is be again this primal entity open to what is. And the more you open, the more that muscle it takes place, the more you let go and let go and let go, the more of these moments of, just like when you're a baby and realizing they're not coming, just when you realize you're not going to get picked up in the crib, no one's changing your diaper. There's something in you that goes, oh. That is in a way the spiritual journey. We are all going through that. My experience in the last year, as I've shared with you quite a bit, has been a new experience of pain. I don't want to bore you with my pain journey because I know it's boring and I know nobody wants to hear it really. But my physical therapist the other day, when I walked into her inner sanctum, and I started complaining about the pain I'm having in my shoulder and my neck, and telling her about the MRI I had that did not appear to show very much. She said, she saw me sitting in the hallway, and she said, you know, the way you're sitting is the problem. You're doing this all the time. And of course, I've been doing that since I became a writer, or probably before, this terrible posture with this 60-pound bowling ball of weight on my spine and on my muscle system, and it's pulling everything. And after 78, almost 79 years, there's damage, and that hurts. And she said, you have to sit erect, you have to maintain an erect form, and you get about 2 millimeters of movement that will be okay, like this. If you go beyond that, pain. You lean forward too much, you lean back too much, pain. You have 2 millimeters. And it was the first time I've ever had anybody define my comfort zone. It's really tiny, but it's really important. So I no longer read the newspaper at the table. I have using my computer screen, so I'm looking straight ahead. I no longer pee looking down in the toilet. I look at the wall in front of me. I am, as much as possible, erect when I can be erect and feeling my 2% space. We all have different ranges of comfort and discomfort, but I'm telling you, as you get older, they may come down to 2%. You can curse the body, the mind, the world that brought you into being if you want, or you work toward your 2%. All of us are going to go through this process of getting rid of 98% of stuff and having 2% that's still manageable. And then I suspect that goes to 1% and it may go to 0%. We'll see. But I know that the part of me that reacts to any of that remains the problem. It remains the problem the same way it was a problem in the crib. My mother was very good about picking me up, but when she didn't, I had to go on the journey alone. I have a voice telling me now, very similarly, you are on your own. If you want to be happy for the next however many years you have left, figure it out. You do it. I'm not telling you anymore. There's no other to tell me, because that duality is the problem. There is no higher power saying, do this, do that. There is only this. And it is saying, I am saying, I am that thing. Figure it out. Do it. Move 3% that way, see what happens. I can only say that I can imagine, I understand this to be the case, our spiritual journey brings us down to 0 separateness. 0 me and it. It just becomes this. Is there suffering in that? Yes. I have experienced suffering. What do you do with that? Figure it out. You've got this. One of the things Christ learned on the cross, I talk about it regularly, is stop complaining about yourself. Look to the other. Have compassion for the other, for all the others who are also one of yourself who are suffering. The journey into real selfhood is the journey into being this person here now. This person. That's who we are, and we will be taken out of that, back into that primal state that we came out of, into the world. We're all heading in that direction. If you get the journey worked out while you're still alive, I think probably at the end, it's a very gentle release. If you haven't worked it out, if you haven't paid attention, then I imagine, like the movie I wrote, Jacob's Ladder, it's a Bardo experience. You have to work it out while you are being taken apart, while you're dying, while you are even perhaps dead. You have to work it through. And that working it through is not a joyous experience for many people. It's confusing because everything you use to explain it to you is going to not work, because there is nothing out there that's separate from your truth. You are truly on your own journey. It's a collective journey, and the most we can do for each other is be good to each other, be kind to each other, reach out to one another, hold hands, embrace, love, and share what we're going through, because we are collectively in this together on our own. I don't know if that makes sense, but it is absolutely real. And for me, the particular stage that I am going through, which I think may be something we will all go through at some point in time, this state that we will all go through is figuring it out, getting back to your primal self. It is no longer a named self. You may not even remember your name. I've seen people who don't remember their mothers and fathers when their minds go, but I've also seen people find their way back to primal nature in a state of deep surrender. Going, you know, my mother-in-law's, what are you going to do? That's our journey. And I know right now I'm 5 steps ahead. Some of you are, moving up along the way. Try to take all of this into account. Work in yourself. You can work on surrender. You can work on trying to be open. You can work on trying to be free of stress and tension and drama and all of that if you want. But I will tell you, your primal self contains stress and drama and all of that. And the world around us, which is so much us, is coming at us in so many directions, as we're all experiencing right now, that you can't really pretend it away. All you can do is the work of kindness, love, surrender to the what is. That's it. That's it. The wonderful thing about a class like this, or what Rudy used to do, is that it's like a direct infusion of love, kindness, goodness, etc. It's a direct infusion. And I feel it pouring through me. It looks at every one of you, and it just feels love for you, care for you, and acknowledgement and recognition that you and I and it are one thing. We're not two. We're one thing. And this exchange of kindness and goodness makes all the difference. I called Shelley and Mark yesterday on the phone because everything in me said call Shelley and Mark. I don't know why it said that, but I don't ask that question. I just do it. It was so nurturing, so rewarding in terms of sharing kindness and goodness across cyberspace, and this love, this sweetness, this simplicity of knowing us to be connected, in the end, really one, was so beautiful. And I talk about this quite a bit. I'm not good at it, but the reaching out factor is a smart move. And if something in you starts to do that, go with it. Go with it. Call me. I can be smart enough, I will call you. There will be this embrace of the other and the singularity that arises from that, the oneness of our shared nature. If you want joy in life, if you want contentment, that hug that my mother gave me picking me up in the crib is the same thing as reaching out to one another in the world. That's what we have. That's who we are. That's what this is about. And if we can do that for one another, that's our spiritual work, is our spiritual practice. And at some point, nobody's going to be there. So figure that out. Get your own act together. In other words, be willing to let go of everything. Just be willing to let go. Let go. That was Rudy's key practice: surrender, surrender, surrender. If you do that, when the time comes to have nothing left to hold on to, including a body, a mind, a physicality at all, a world, you will go, okay. And that's what we're going toward. And if you can get that working while you're still in the body, it's a better life. It's a much better life. But in the end, it's all preparation. It's all preparation. This is a temporary manifestation. It has always been temporary. There is such beauty in it, poignancy in it, love in it, struggle, difficulty, sadness, depression. Don't get caught up in judging yourself for any of that. Just go, yeah, I'm on my own, work it out. That's where we are. That's who we are. That's the journey. If you don't like that, there are so many other teachers out there who will tell you other things. They'll make you probably, I don't know, feel better, or at least that you can have no stress, no drama, and bliss forever. And that may, in fact, be the end for us. I don't know, but I know there won't be a you to experience it. There will just be, and that's all I know. So that's my sharing for today. If this makes any sense to you at all, there's nothing really to do, really. Just, go have lunch or breakfast or whatever time it is, and have a good afternoon and enjoy yourself. And I really, really love you guys. And this energy that flows between us is, I guess you can use the word cosmic, whatever that means, but it's real. It's there. Thank you for showing up, for sitting through this. And I hope it's meaningful. And again, if it's not, there's a lot of meaning out there for a lot of people in a lot of different different spaces. So find the meaning that works for you. But just remember, if there's meaning for you and there's still it won't last because there's no separation. There's no two. Any questions?
Bruce, I have a question. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm curious how the energy body works into all this, because you often talk about the muscles, and Rudy talks a lot about taking it to the muscles and opening the heart like a muscle. And even with your back, like there's a certain level of, bodily alignment that would alleviate a lot of that. How does that play into the meditation?
The real core of meditation is letting go of everything. And the muscle of that letting go is so foundational and fundamental in the journey through your day-to-day life. And if you can really go deep into your chakra systems and open, surrender, let go. Remember, the muscle system is not grabbing, it's freeing. Go into all of these places, open up, and this energy body, if you want to call it that, is an awareness that guides you into that, what do you call it, 2 millimeters of where you can be that will be actually comfortable. And not only that, the 2 millimeters is my journey right now. It's not your journey. You may have, massive footage of places to go inside that are very comfortable. And if you go inside and you just be there, you will find that that gives you this comfort that happens when your mother doesn't come to pick you up. You will go, oh, and it's not an invisible space. It's real. It's cosmologically real. And if you can go into that space and find your way there, it helps you get through the day. And this cosmological energy body, if you will, is really the love, the self-caring, the awareness, the simplicity of flow that happens inside you that is so exquisitely beautiful that it becomes a place of refuge, and you can go there. But again, and I try to get this as clear as I can be, the you that goes there will ultimately have to dissolve. And that's tricky because you get used to going there. You think it's a good place to go, but that duality is the problem. In the end, there is no you to go there. There is only there, and it's there now. So being in that place, in this primal way, which is the journey we are on, is kind of what happens at the end if you have been practicing living this life of kindness, goodness, and other. It really, it's just what remains. And that's what we're doing. And if you practice that and do it, and the time comes to let go of that final thing, which is the separate you will by perhaps already have done it. My mother-in-law had let go of herself long before. People do that. They can no longer remember who they are, what they're about, what their life was about, what church or synagogue or whatever they belong to. It's all gone. All they are is there. Somebody brings them water, they're grateful. Nobody brings them water, they go to this place inside and they forget that they even need water. And it's a kind of a simple state. Some of us get there, some die before we get there, but that's a place you want to learn about. And this meditation is learning. That's what we're doing. It's that cosmic body that is inside us, that is what connects all of us. And when the love moves between us, the walls that separate us, like body, mind, personality, separateness, goes away for tiny moments, especially like in sex, especially when you just really love somebody. That stuff kind of falls away and there's just connection, singularity, oneness. That's what you feel in love. That's the great thing about the energy of love. You can actually let go of self. And that's the practice that real life teaches you. People who find love know what I'm talking about. Does that help?
Yeah, I have one more question. Because like you were saying, there's the we, and the we are on our own, and then there's the like I am on my own, and it seems like those are two theirs, one is within the other. And I'm wondering, is there a point to, in a sense, developing the there, like cultivating your garden even if there's not a gardener?
You can't help it. It's happening. This is all happening. This is not fantasy land, not an illusion, or maybe it is, but it's happening. And you are the gardener, whether you want to be the gardener or not. You were born here to care for it, to take care of it, to enjoy it, to imbibe it, to do whatever you're supposed to do, learn from it. There's a lot of stuff. There's a reason for being born, coming into this world, finding your independence, and then giving your independence back. That's kind of what we're doing. And in the journey, you will discover there's a movement between the I and the we. And the I and the we part can happen early on, it can happen late. I've met kids who are really kind and really sweet to one another. And I've met kids who are ready to beat each other over the head. And how you navigate that world is kind of your choice. In the end, you got to figure it out. And there are certain rules and regulations along the way, 10 commandments, be good to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you pay attention, the ride will be kind of a kind of extraordinary thing. You will have been a big part of tending the garden. You will be one with the garden, and that is an extraordinary thing. And the fact is, you're already that, but to know that is really remarkable. Is that shade getting into the shades of what you're saying?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else?
Bruce, I just want to say really quickly, thank you for that talk. Deeply honest, very deep, and very helpful. I really appreciate it. I just really quickly, I just saw the film Topsy Turvy again, the Stephen Frears film about Gilbert and Sullivan, made it 20 years ago. It's a beautiful love letter to them. And in the middle of that movie, the point of the story is one of their most famous actors has his lead song cut in a very humiliating way. It's just completely destructive to his ego in front of the entire company. Everyone's coming to his dressing room at the end. They're near opening night. He has nothing to do in the show now, and he's inconsolable. And everybody's trying to make him feel better. And somebody's like, it's going to be okay. And he has this moment, and he goes, "What is life? Laughter, tears, curtain." And I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we talk about in class all the time. Like, that's a beautiful presentation. So I just wanted to share that.
Much to do about nothing, but it is pretty remarkable. And I'm not trying to in any way put that down, but I am trying to get us all to know we're headed in the same direction. As you say, curtain. The curtain is coming down at some point, and you can either be miserable and cheated and angry at the world, or you can have made enormous peace with it and realize that having been on stage at all is such a remarkable thing. It's just remarkable. And whether you get good reviews or bad reviews or whatever, your being on that stage in this world, in this experience of life itself, is worth everything. If you've learned to come to accept and love what it is. It's a great journey. And I have no regrets about any of it. But I will say the ending is proving to be more of a challenge and more of an awakening than I ever thought. I didn't know it would be so biological. I didn't know they would take my spiritual life away. I didn't know they would take everything I know to be true away. At this point, I cling to my wife. I have no idea if she goes out to the garden. I'm worried. I don't want her going out anywhere. This is a time of where you see your real attachments, and then you also know even that will go. So I love everyone and everything, and I am grateful to the nth degree. But I also am already saying